Just because life changes, it doesn't mean that it stops. Life can change, but we can still move on with a purpose and clarity. The way you show up is always within your control. I cannot control what happened in the past. The only thing that I can control is how I show up right now. Welcome to the Stephen De Cuba's podcast. In this episode, I want to talk a bit personal with you. I want to go a little bit more personal in this episode because recently I went through a breakup. Yep. And when things in life changes, well, it really has an effect on you. And sometimes we don't really think about it, how easily and how fast things can change until it does. And that is when you like, whoa, what happened there? And I believe that in every situation that you go through in life, there's always a lesson, there's always an opportunity for growth, and there's always a reason why it's happening. Maybe it's not clear yet. Maybe you're going through something right now, and maybe life doesn't feel really exciting right now. It didn't feel for me 5 months ago. And today I want to share with you the things that I have learned by going through this breakup. So 5 months ago, I've made that decision that I wanted to walk away from my relationship. And just recently, today, at the point of this recording, it is Friday. Last Wednesday, I arrived back in Aruba. I went to Holland. So I have an apartment in Rotterdam. And I was there for 10 days. And this apartment I shared with my ex. And I went back to give away the apartment. So we were both living in this apartment and he moved out. And the apartment, I had to take care of it. And I had to give it back. So I went there to sell everything, to clean it, and to give it back to the landlord. It was a rent house, thank God. It was not a house that we bought. So it was easy to do all the things that has to be done, giving it back away. So I'm not going to share a lot about the details of the relationship and why we broke up. And I'm not going to mention names either. So if you know my ex, well, you know who I'm talking about. And if you don't, that's also fine. You don't need the details. But I do want to talk about the concept of time and how life can change instantly. In my case, it's a breakup. But in your case, maybe it's a move. Maybe it is that you're changing career. Maybe it's a business that you want to start. Maybe it is something that you're going through that is really hitting you in the core. These things can come out of nowhere, and sometimes we are left not knowing what to do. And right now, at the point of this recording, it has been 5 months that I walked away from my relationship. So now I can really talk about it. If you ask me 5 months ago or 4 months ago if I could talk about this, the answer was no. Because the first 2 months, it was horrible. I really went through it. I remember I ended the relationship and I came to Aruba. And there were days that I was just driving around and I was just crying. I was asking myself, why did it happen? Like, why? Like, why? Why me? Why this way? Sometimes we really start thinking about why. And maybe we even blame ourselves. At least that's what I did. I started to blame myself. Maybe you didn't do this. Maybe you didn't do this way, or maybe you weren't enough, and blah 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 blah. All these things will come up. But as I navigated this uncertainty, I realized that just because life can change, that doesn't mean it stops. Oh, let me repeat that. Just because life changes, it doesn't mean that it stops. Life can change, but we can still move on with a purpose and clarity. Now, of course, easier said than done, but this is what I told someone when they asked me, because I posted a couple of things on Instagram about the moving out of the apartment. And someone asked me, how do you deal with the uncertainty of the future? And I told this person, well, the reality is that we cannot control or we cannot change the past and we cannot control the future. The only thing that we can do is live in the present moment. And even when you don't have it all figured out, and I believe that no one has it all figured out, even then, living in the present moment, focusing on gratitude is what really helped me navigate these uncertain moments in my life. Now, I want to talk about how you show up matters. I believe that who you choose to be in these uncertain moments really define who you are and the results that you get. In these uncertain moments, who you choose to be really matters. And choose is a keyword. I actually have my notes here and I put choose in caps lock because going back to the apartment didn't feel like home anymore. When I went to Rotterdam, I got there and I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous going back to the apartment because it has been 5 months without me being there and going back not to my home anymore because it didn't feel like home really made me nervous. I felt like this was a space of collection of things that I was letting go of. That's how it felt. So despite the situation, I made the decision that I was going to show up as someone that is ready for my next chapter. I was going to show up like someone that is going to figure all these things out, close this chapter, and continue with my next chapter. I don't know what my next chapter will be. I cannot predict the future, but what I can do is focus on how I show up in this moment in life. I had to choose to keep moving forward, despite the fear and despite the uncertainty. So I went there, I sold everything. The universe was really on my side because I only went for 10 days and minus 3 days that I did a solo trip to Barcelona. So I only was in Holland for 7 days, really. And in 7 days, I managed to sell everything and I managed to clean the house and deliver or give it back away to the landlord. And despite of all of that, I even focus on my business. My business was thriving. I was selling wedding albums. I was booking clients. I was meeting with clients. I was signing contracts. So everything just kept on moving. And to that, I am super, super, super grateful. So what really impacted me, or as I think back, what really helped me was to really focus on who I choose to be in this moment. I cannot control what other people do to me. I cannot control how people think about me. I cannot control how they treat me. But what I can control is how I show up. And that is what really helped me in this journey. Now, another thing that I really thought about and I wanted to share with you is really the concept of time. We think that we have time, but we really don't. In fact, we don't know how much time do we have. It's easy to put things off. For example, I remember when I walked away from the relationship. This was back in October in 2024. I was really, I was putting it off, like canceling the contract of the apartment. I was putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And it came from a place of fear because I didn't know what was on the other side of making that decision. And maybe for you, it's the same thing. Maybe it's a conversation that you are avoiding. Maybe it's a decision that you keep on delaying. Or maybe it's a risk that you keep talking yourself out of. But what if time is not on our side? Think about it. How much time do you think you have? Well, we don't know. You don't know. I don't know. In fact, last year, a really, really close, I call them my family. They're not my family, blood related, but they're my family. I choose to them for be my family. One of my family members was diagnosed with cancer, and in 5 months, she was gone. And that really, really made me think about the concept of time. I don't know how much time I have. You don't know how much time you have. So if right now is not the right time, then when is it? Right? So what if time is not on our side? The reality is that we all have 24 hours in our day. So it's up to us to choose how we spend every single second. I was also reminded about this when I went to Barcelona. So I arrived in the Netherlands on Sunday. I left to Barcelona the next Friday. And 2 weeks prior to that, I was like, nah, maybe I should not go to Barcelona. Maybe I should just stay in the Netherlands and figure things out. But I made the decision that no, I want to go. I've been craving a solo trip. I wanted to go to Spain. I love Spain. I love Barcelona. I lived a half of a year in Madrid and I wanted to go back. I was really putting it off not to go. But then I said, no, I'm going to book it. I booked the ticket. There was a party that I wanted to go. I bought those tickets too. And I said, I am going to do a solo trip. And that was the best decision ever. I was walking around the streets in Barcelona all alone. I was shopping. I was partying until late. I went to dinners on my own. I took myself on a dinner date. I really, really, really took the time to be alone. Being alone doesn't mean that you're lonely. It means that you love yourself so much that you can spend time with yourself. And that for me was really transformative. So that trip really, really, really made the difference. So I stayed in Barcelona until Monday, and on Monday I went back to Holland. And I hired a cleaning lady, thank God. She helped me with the whole apartment. I gave the apartment away. I waved goodbye to the apartment. I remember I was there and it was one night that it was all in my feelings. And I have to be honest, the feeling was not about I wanted my ex back, but it really was about the idea that I created with that relationship. I really thought this was the forever relationship, that I was going to grow old with this person. But that didn't happen, of course. But the idea of that was really what really hit me to my core. And then I reminded myself, but hey, you have control over this. You can control what you think. And what you think really influences how you feel. And how you feel influences how you act. So I started to really think about, how do I want to feel? And what are the thoughts that I can choose that will influence how I feel about this whole situation? So I was sitting there. I remember I was sitting on the couch. I was looking outside. We have a really beautiful view. It was a 15th floor. I could look at the really nice skyscraper in Rotterdam. And I asked myself, what if this is just the beginning? What if this is just like the 1% of what life has to offer for me? What if this is just like one stepping stone to where I am meant to be? Oh my goodness, what if I am just getting started? What if this is just one little experience that I had to go through in order to be ready for my next experience? And with that energy, I'm like, oh yes. From there, I moved into gratitude. I was even speaking to the apartment. I was like, thank you, apartment, for giving me the opportunity to live here in this such a beautiful city. Thank you, apartment, for giving me the opportunity to experience what I just experienced for the last 2 years. Thank you, the view that I got to see this view every single morning with a cup of coffee in my hand and welcome a new day. Thank you, building, for carrying me and giving me the opportunity to. We had even a gym, and I can go to the gym and I can work out. I have a working area and I can work there. And I recorded my the high end click, my signature course for wedding photographers was recorded in this apartment. I was like, thank you, apartment, for giving me the opportunity to create something so beautiful and powerful. And that really changed how I showed up in the midst of all of this chaos. So gratitude for me was really the thing that changed everything. So from there, I really asked myself, so what now? How do we move forward with life and business with all of these lessons? Well, the answer is simple. You start showing up as the person that you want to be right now. So if I envision the person that I want to be in the future, the person that has that successful business and that life that I want to live, and how I define how I show up in my life and my business and my personal life with my family, with my friends, how do you want to show up? How about you start showing up like that person right now? How can you start making the decision that your actions today are going to move you closer to that vision? That is exactly what I ask myself. And for me, I kept on showing up for my business. I reminded myself that this is only one stepping stone towards my bigger vision. That's it. So if there's one thing that I want you to take out of this episode, is that the way you show up is always within your control. You cannot control what people think about you, what they say about you, what they do to you. I cannot control that. I cannot control what happened in the past. The only thing that I can control is how I show up right now. What do I think about myself? What do I think about this situation? What are the things that I can learn from all the things that I went through? That I can control. So let me turn it back to you. Whatever you're going through in your life right now, you have the ability to choose how you respond, how you keep on moving forward, and how you continue to build towards your goals. That's it. It sounds simple. It really is simple. I'm not saying it's easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. I want you to know that you are powerful. Your thoughts are powerful. How you show up is powerful. So, what are you choosing? So, here's my challenge to you. Today, choose yourself. Choose today, right now, in this moment, right now, to show up as the version of yourself who is ready to take on what's next. No matter what's happening, no matter what life throws at you, choose today to show up like the version of you that already has what you want. Because when you do, there's no limit to what you can achieve. All right. This is what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being part of my journey. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best as you navigate your journey. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anyone has life figured out. But what we can all do is support each other, be there for each other, and show up from a place of compassion towards each other. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week. Same place with the same host on the Steven the Cubas podcast. Ciao, ciao.